Morning. Lights off. It's not much better. Okay. All right, mute if you can. And just wait for a couple more to come on in and we'll get cracking. All right, what we'll do first is we'll cover off what needs to happen in the next couple of months for your essays. Okay. Morning. All right, share screen. Priya's in the house. Look at that. Priya's in. Hello, Priya. Morning. Right. Okay, so we are bang on 9:30. Just wait for any others who want to join. And then we'll get started. Hope everyone's had a good weekend. So what we'll start with, I'll get started anyway. For those who are not here, they can watch the recording wherever it is they want to do. So as far as SA goes, we'll cover that quickly first. There are events coming up, such as Valentine's Day, which hopefully you've already accounted for months ago. All the restrictions are pretty much off as of Thursday. So people are going to want to get out there and enjoy themselves, especially Valentine's Day. And I'd be doing minimum 2 or 3 night stays over those periods. You don't want to do one nighters just for the 14th. You want to be doing, minimum 2 nights, and you'll sell them, no problem. Then we have half term, which will incorporate Easter as well. Now, with Easter, I would be doing, you should already be in there by January for this, December. Because people, and if you haven't already booked Easter, people will be booking Easter, but I'd be doing minimum 3-4 nights, and you want to be getting 25-30% more than what you would normally charge. You should be doing 25% more minimum anyway for any half term, any school holidays. Sometimes people are getting 40-50% more, but it depends on the area and if it's, good for holidays and that type of thing. So you need to make sure that when the sun shines, unlike for the next few days in this country, you're going to make hay, because any other regular day, where there's no events on, that's where you're getting your stock standard pricing. There's no reason why you can increase the pricing. There's no justification for it. It's like when you walk into a retail shop and they've got jackets for sale and they're £200, but they are 3 seasons old. And you're like, why would I buy that? But then when a new design or fashion comes in, people will pay maximum money, even though it costs exactly the same amount of money to produce as what the one did 3 seasons ago. It may even cost less, it may cost slightly more, but it doesn't cost 100, 150 more, which is why we have these things called outlet stores, where they can then get rid of all of their old stock that they didn't sell at the maximum price. However, they've made their profits. Anything that they sell, at cost or whatever, which is why they have their big logos on, is basically free advertising. That's the way the retail world works. Like it or not, we are ambassadors for the label. And the more expensive the label, the bigger the logo seems to be, because they want that advertising done out there. There are people who will go out and they want to waste their money and spend hundreds of pounds, if not thousands of pounds, on jackets by Gucci and this and all that sort of crap. You're paying for the name, that logo on there. In fact, you're paying to do that advertising for them globally. And that's why they have such a big logo. It's their brand. And you are the brand ambassador, like it or not. So this is the reason we do the same thing in SA, because we are retailing, if you like, rooms to the general public. So you want to make sure that, you're making money for, more money for the newest, latest release, which is at the moment, Valentine's, half term, Easter. There will be other events within your areas that are happening during those times. So if you have, for instance, if you have, like Christmas, yes, people will travel, but it's not just Christmas. You'll get slightly more for Christmas because it is a global event. However, you'll get more money if there are Christmas markets in your area, because it's an event that will bring people in. They want to be there. This FOMO, fear of missing out, is what people fear most in this world today, and is brought on by social media. I was watching some show about Dubai, and they're building, it's cost them $3.5 billion to build this new hotel, I think it is, on the Palm. And all they spoke about for half of the time is, this is going to be the #1 Instagrammable spot in the world. That's it. Why? Because they want you to advertise. Now, you want people to advertise for you as well with your SA, which is why you make it fantastic. You create little Instagrammable things in your property, whether that's a free bottle of Prosecco, free beers. They'll do it, they'll tag you. You can even put in your little postcards in there. Hey, feel free to take a photo, tag us on Instagram, bang. Tell them about your experience. If they tag you and it's not good, you can just remove the tag, all right? So you're not saying, but why would somebody tag you in something that's been nice, unless there's a big turd or something on the floor? Well, let's sort that out. However, do you get my drift? Do you understand? You've got to make money. You've got to have your prices up, ready for those big things, those big events. Make one up if you have to. The sun is shining this weekend in Edinburgh. Shay, put the prices up 20%, or entice them to come in if you don't have any bookings. Create something. Create something for Valentine's Day. Free bottle of Prosecco and chocolates for, for the couple. Don't say for the woman or whatever, because not everyone's a woman or a man who, in this day and age. So create something out there on your Instagram. Entice people in. Good. It's called point of sale marketing. When they're in there, get these Instagrammable shots. Get them done. Create, maybe have a weird couch or something in your property where they can sit there and have their photo taken, something like that. You see in fun parks, take your photo here, tag us on Instagram. It's what we have to do. Keep pushing. All right, so make sure your rates are set where they need to be, okay? Good. Yeah. Sometimes, yeah. Check everything, right? Hold your nerve. Yes, absolutely. Doesn't your pricing tool raise the prices automatically? Yes, but you need to make sure that you're setting the rates where it wants to go to. Don't just rely on technology. You must check technology all the time. I've got an iPhone in my hand right now. You know, sometimes it works. Well, 90% of the times it doesn't, but the times that it doesn't could cost you money. So just be careful. Right, now, for those doing developing with me, mentorship, and this is also one for Bartek, who has sent something in. 1 second, just going to get Sam in. So that covers the SA stuff for now, right? All these people are going to be flocking back to work. Front pages on some of the papers today is going back to work, like it or not, happy or not. Most people, I would say, would not be happy to be going back to the office. In fact, we've already had loads of inquiries coming through for the training. So that tells me exactly what I was thinking, is that people want to get out of that rat race, and they've been happy living out of that rat race for so long. And now it's like, oh, I've got to go back to work. I won't be seeing my kids. I'm going to have to leave home at 6. I'm not going to get home until 6, 7 o'clock at night. So, you know, you guys are in the right position. Right, let's look at this. So this is a pricing analysis that myself and multiple other developers, professional developers meaning they get paid to be developers in most cases, not always. So this is an appraisal for, this is one that I just want to make sure is addressed. Yeah, it's not addressed. Okay, then this is different. So this is a development appraisal. Now, some of you have attempted to do flips and failed miserably. You've either lost money or made a few quid. You haven't made what you thought. Now, for me, this will be controversial. For some, actually probably all the trainers out there who sell courses to those people who have very little or absolutely FA money. And the fact is that if you want to do flips, and I know a lot of you, and that's the reason I'm talking about this, if you want to do flips and you want to start making money from property other than cash flow, because now you're at the cash flow point, then I wouldn't be looking at deals that are going to take 9 to 12 months to complete, and you're only making 20, 25 grand profit. Why bother? Find a deal where you're getting at least £50,000. For me, it's 100 grand. But for you, if you're starting out, look for something that's a minimum of 50 grand profit. The reason is, if things go wrong in your flip, in other words, you haven't set the right contingency, or contingency has gone way over what you expected it to be, 20 grand profit is going to get swallowed up real quick. Now, if you have 50 grand in there, chances are you're still going to make 25, 30 grand. Now you see why I won't go through anything unless there's a minimum of 100 grand. Because if things go wrong, I'm still going to make minimum 50, 60 grand or whatever. Very rare you're going to find something in a deal that size where your 100 grand profit's going to get swallowed up. All right. It also allows for changes in the market, giving you that extra few, 10, 20 grand, etc., to allow for that. Now, I would also recommend that you don't do any more than one at a time when you first start out, until you have a team together that can go and do these projects. Even when you have a team together, they're not going to want to be spending time on, 1 project, 2 projects, 3 projects, because they can only do 1 project at a time, right? What you can do is start one, and then 2 months later start the next, and then 2 months later start the next, because the first people coming in will do their work, and then they're done and they're ready to do the next project, so you can get them rolling on. If that's how you want to be, and that's how you should get to, and what you should get to as a professional developer. Now, bear in mind, please, service accommodation sometimes takes a lot of admin work on your PC and this type of thing, right? But your returns are still there. You've still got money coming in. And there's much less risk when it comes to rent to rent. When it comes to investing in flips, developments, whatever you want to call it, then there's going to be a lot more input needed from you. You're going to need to go to the site. This is as a beginner. For me, if I do a quick refurb on a property, when I say a quick refurb, I can get one done in probably 8 to 9 weeks. And I phone up Ferg and I say, Ferg, I want to meet you at this property. He'll meet me there. Ferg, here you go. And yeah, right. Ash, what do you want to do? What level do you want to do? And we have kind of 3 levels. Level 1 would be a house, you know, in and around, you know, 250 grand. And but the cash flow is high. So the yield is high. Number 2 would be, right, okay, this is a house that's worth anywhere between sort of, you know, 300 to 400 grand, 450. That's the type of spec that we'll put in. And then level 3 would be anything from sort of, you know, 550 up to 750. We don't do spec 4s. In other words, we don't go above that 750 retail price. The reason is because ordinarily a £1 million house will take, in many cases, 6 to 12 months to sell, and we want a quick sale. All right. And it depends again where you're building, what you're doing. You know, if your £1 million house is amongst many others that are 1.3, 1.4, then it's going to sell much quicker, but it means you're going to miss out on a lot of profit. So there are so many moving parts and so many things to take into account when it comes to doing developments, whether it be one house that you buy a bungalow and you flip it, or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 or flats or etc. and that type of stuff. There are so many things to take into account, which is why for me, I am very, I'm almost allergic to bricks and mortar. I don't like it. So I will get deals and I'll go to my builder mate, Mark Edwards, and I'll say, Mark, do you want a joint venture in this? Yeah, sure. What is it? And I'll say, look, you know, one, I'm talking to a friend of mine at the moment, Mike Rutham. There's a block of land here, around here. It's not even on the market. We've been offered it. It's £800,000. But we can build already, there's planning approved on it, 4 houses, and they will sell for about 1.3, 1.4 million each. And it will cost us, to the spec that we want to do, about 350, 360K per property, which is high. You know, the days of £120 per square foot building are gone. They do not exist. So if you've got sheets where that's still in there from a year ago, 2 years ago, it's no longer. Timber, for instance, has doubled the price. Plaster's up at 50%. All materials have gone up. You are looking more 140 minimum pound per square foot, which is going to put all your building prices up. Now, I would allow for 150 because prices are continually going up, and with inflation at over 5%, who knows where it's going to stop. So you need to allow for that. Otherwise, inflation is going to bite you in the buttocks. Big time. Now, what was taught 10 years ago in property is invalid 2 years after that. What was taught 5 years ago has been invalid for 3 years. What was taught 2 years ago is now invalid. What you should be teaching and listening to now, what I'm telling you now, is currently valid. Currently valid. Taking into account inflation at 5%. Now, when have you ever been to a course where people say, oh yeah, you need to take into account inflation. You need to take into account this, and this. No, they just say, yeah, let's go for this. We'll build a property, we'll get a buyer in, and you know, we'll hope for the best. And they're assuming that the market's going to stay the same for 18 months, which is if you're going to buy a property and convert it to 10 flats, commercial to resi, it could take 2 years because your whole your whole planning process is going to take 6 months probably. Your drawings and that type of stuff are going to take time. And at the moment, builders are so busy, architects are so busy trying to get supplies. You're going to need to allow for an extra 4, 5, 6 months holding costs just for that. So I would be saying that a project that was taking 18 months, you should allow for 2 years on your pricing. Minimum. If you thought it's going to take you 9 months to do a flip and make your 50 grand a year ago or 2 years ago, you now need to allow for about 14, 15 months. I'm in a fortunate place where I know good builders around here and they always want a JV, and I can phone them up and say, look, I've got this project, right? I've got 5 more projects ashing away. Let me push them back. Imagine if you are using the same builder as me and you've now put in place that it's going to be a 12-month project. You've now been pushed back 6 months, but you haven't allowed for that. And that could be 1,500, 2 grand, could be 3, 4 grand a month that you now have in holding costs, which is your council tax. It could be your mortgage. You could, and if you're on a bridge, it could completely knacker your project. So at the moment, being a developer is extremely tricky, which is why so many are going bust. And I can tell you now, I can count on both my hands how many trainers out there have already gone bust in the last 2 years. And this is why you'll see them flogging courses like you wouldn't believe. Because for them, it's easy, quick money. And they're telling you stuff that they work on in principle, but they've failed miserably because they haven't allowed for certain criteria. All right, I'll answer some questions as we go along. So when you look at a project, and let's make it something that's probably more viable to you. So let's say you're finding something with a purchase price of £275,000. This is small. However, it might sound like a lot to you. And then your stamp duty, you want to go to your stamp duty here. You want to put in and just go through the whole process. It's going to be freehold. We don't want leasehold. Is it residential? It's residential. And just put in whatever. 2022. Continue. Are any of the purchases non-resident? No, we're going to assume you're not. Are you purchasing it as an individual? No, we're not. We're going to purchase it in a company name. Limited liability. Now the price is 275,000. Continue. Calculate. 12 grand. There we go. There's your stamp duty. See how simple it is? Now you can work it out if you want, but it's very quick to do that. Now a solicitor could cost you probably, I'd say around about 2 grand. They are more expensive now. Agent fees, if you're buying this property, you may have to pay a fee to the agent as a finder's fee. You may not. I would suggest that if you're going through an agent, you may be paying fees at the moment. It could be a 5 grand fee. We'll allow for 5, a finder's fee of 5 grand. If you're finding it through an agent. If you're going direct to vendor, it will be 0. Subtotal. So you can see already that a purchase price of 275,000 is actually going to cost you 294,000. So we'll assume that there's nothing to demolish on this property, because what we're going to do is going to refurb it and perhaps maybe add some additional room. I don't know. We'll think of it as we go along. So let's say that the square foot on this one, let's say it's a 1,600 square foot property. We're not building it, but we're probably going to be looking at spending about, we're probably looking at spending about £55 per square foot to completely refurbish this property. Now, we might go a bit lower actually. We'll go 45 because we're going to go, we'll go 40 because we're going to go a stage 1. And then the resi, we might add, we're going to add a little kitchen to the back. It's going to be an extension. And I would say we're going to add 120 square foot. And because we're going to put in a decent kitchen and we're going to pay for the extension, I'll probably go at 225 per square foot. And the rest of the property is refurb. I think we'll bring that down to 35. Yeah, that'll be about right for this property. So we're going to spend 83 with a refurb. So some of the refurb will get caught up in here as well. Contingency at 10%. So you can see our build with the extension is going to be about 83 grand. So that means we're taking this, that shouldn't be a pound sign, but we're taking this property now to 1720 square foot. Yep. And the kitchen, the open plan, etc., just try and visualize it, is not there to create, let's say, just simply extra money. It's there to create a wow factor. That's what people want these days. The kitchen is a central hub of the property, and it is the most expensive thing to replace. Bathrooms are next, and then your bedrooms, your lounge rooms, and that type of stuff, depending on what you put in there, whether it's fitted stuff, but it's just paint and carpets, more or less, unless you've got to put in windows, but that's catered for the entire property. Make sense? Contingency is there for. So it may be that you've discovered that when you're putting in or had a survey that you need to put some piling under that extension. It could be that. It could be that you need to put extra steel in that you didn't account for. You know, you get a good architect to do these drawings, they'll account for it anyway. And they'll also make sure that everything is in line with your building regs and everything is legal. Because sometimes if you put an extension like that out and you've already got double doors in place and you say, oh, I don't want to replace those double doors, it may be down to fire that you actually have to open that up. So that has to be opened up. And it may be that you have to put in, you know, more steel. You may say to yourself, okay, we'll put in bifolds. Because there's different fire regulations that come into place with building regs as well. And it depends on what materials you're going to use out the back. You know, if you're going to use brick and windows and that type of stuff, it's going to be much cheaper than using a big glass extension, which can be about £2,000 to £3,000 per square meter, because it's all safety glass and they have the little turret roof and that type of stuff, right? They can be very expensive. However, they look amazing. Would I spend that on a property like this? No way, because you're overcapitalizing. So even on the contingency, I would probably go in and I'd go at about 12%, make that 10 grand. Now, if you don't spend a contingency, fair play. But I can tell you now that on any development, as you go along, you start to spend a little bit. Oh, we need a new radiator, and we need a bigger one. Do we need to upgrade that? Okay. Well, with what you've done out the back, now all of a sudden, you know, by putting it out there and adding new lines and whatever it might be, 2 new radiators, it just works out. I'm sorry, mate. Plumber says the boiler, it doesn't have a high enough rating to do the work. Okay, so what do we need? We need to upgrade the boiler, right? How much is that? 2 grand. Well, all of a sudden 2 grand, so you've got 8 grand left. Your radiators are coming out. So, you know, it can easily get chipped away at. And lot of people think contingency, stuff that goes wrong. It's not always stuff that goes wrong. It could be stuff that you didn't account for because you think, oh yeah, okay, we should have put that in, should have put that in. Then you're saying to yourself, right, I've accounted for these blinds, but you know what? I've been out and about, I've got these blinds, I want to do that. Don't get into that trap. Do the blinds that you're set to do. Do your research first before you start pricing up, because you don't want to be saying to yourself, oh, I've got 10 grand to spend, I'll do it, I'll do it. If every street every house in the street's got nice slatted blinds, why would you put in anything but that? Because you're going to stand up like a sore thumb, it's going to look crap. And believe me, slatted blinds are a big selling point because they are expensive, you know, 5-6 grand in this house alone, just for slatted blinds and then the fitting. So just be aware that also you may have to do some, you know, don't just think of the house outside, you've got to make it look good. You know, I spent 10 grand here just in getting it cleared and redone, just the gardens outside, and that's cheap. That's cheap because I've got guys who mates with diggers and that type of stuff. And I did the planting and stuff myself. But landscape gardening can quickly go through the roof, and that would be 10 grand gone already. So allow for your outdoor as well as your indoor. There's no use having a nice looking house where the garden's crap. It's like having a Rembrandt in a black and white frame or something like that. All right, so just be aware of all of these things. Do you see how many bloody moving parts there are already? And we haven't even got into fees. So then your planning application, you may not need one because on this one, it could be permitted development under the 25% or whatever it is at the moment. CIL, there would be no CIL, Community Infrastructure Levy, no 106, because it's basically a residential property that you are increasing the size. However, CIL or 106, which is affordable housing, and then 106 could be that they want you to improve the access to the roads, whatever it might be, right? They can go into tens of thousands of pounds, if not more. And normally they don't kick in for 9 or 10 houses with the CIL and that type of stuff. Planning reports, you're not going to need planning reports on this one. Planning consultant, I'd say you probably don't need a planning consultant. Your accountant fees, which is like you're buying, selling, I'd say at the moment, they're about 1,700 you'd be looking to pay on that. Someone's got to do the books, right? Insurance. Oh, insurance, you'll be looking at 2 grand. Site insurance, all this sort of stuff. Council tax, longer now. I would be looking at, you could be looking at 3 grand for that. You got to pay it while you're there, right? Building guarantee on this one, I'd say you bring that down to 2 grand. You've got to guarantee the new build. Building regs could be about 1,500, could be less. Structural survey allow 750. The banks will also want to do that. Party wall survey, you may need, you may not. I would say in this case, we'd say we don't need a party wall survey, because a party wall survey normally is adjoining walls. So in other words, your neighbor and that type of stuff. However, what it can also be is if you have a wall of a certain height and you have a 45-degree angle or an angle like that, and it goes down to the floor there, and if anything between here, so this space here is also measurable as a party wall survey. It doesn't necessarily have to be butting up against, all right? Utilities, utility costs at the moment, I'd allow 2 grand for the time of the build. Project manager, are you going to project manage yourself? Even if you are, you need to allow 2 grand. That's just in cost to get their fuel and that type of thing. Bank survey, probably it's only going to probably be about 750, right? It's going to be 1. Structural engineer, getting that done, you're probably going to look at another 750 again, depending on who you are, where you are. Architect, drawings, getting that done. They would probably also submit something to the council anyway, although you don't need planning approval. So you might be looking at about 950 for that, £1,000 to get those drawings done. Quantities of 8, you won't need one in this case. Architect does take care of that. Health and safety, that type of thing, you're not going to need that. Like, you're not going to need any like ramps or anything like that. And you won't need an engineer on that one. The architect's taking care of it. So you can see here, just your fees are 17.5 grand. So that's taking your total build costs to 130, and yet, you know, we were looking at 83, if you like, adding contingency and that type of thing. See how quickly it adds up? All of a sudden, you're at 404,000 on a £275,000 purchase. Now, at the moment, you ain't going to find those deals. No chance. It's too big, the gap. You're probably going to find a £275,000 house with a GDV, gross development value, of about 350, if you're lucky, to 375, because the market is so hot. You've then got your interest on your loan. 1% could be your arrangement fee, exit fee, bank legal fees, bank valuation fees, etc. They are all going to add up. Total interest on cash that you may buy, it's going to be more than 1%. It's going to be 1% a month. So I would even put that at 7% just to cover. This is if you're borrowing money from someone. If it's your own money and you're not investing that money in something else, it's costing you 9 grand not to do that. So you need to account even for your own cash going in. Some of you are looking at this and saying, what's the point? Something like this, there is no point. You wouldn't do it. And then your interest on your loan, 8% there, yeah. Okay, arrangement fee, yeah. This is borrowing on the, this is just the build. This is just the build. And then we get total interest on cash. Okay, so we want to put, yeah, okay, so you got that. Total finance costs. You can see your finance costs are 38 grand. If you're not using your own money, if you're using banks and other people's money. Total pre-sale costs. Pre-sale costs, in other words, we haven't even charged an agent to sell them yet. And this would be equal to that. That would be equal to that. You can see your fees just on selling. Management fee, we won't charge any management fee on this one. So you can see your total costs on a £275 purchase, £1,000 purchase, of 452,000, almost double. Development profit, we don't, okay, that's, we need to change that. So you're 452, if you like, total cash input, that, let me work this out, minus D98, let's do this, okay, here we go. So let's say we're going to sell it for, it's now worth, there's no way you're going to get it, but let's go 495, £495,000 is what we're going to sell it for. That's if you sell it at £495,000, your total profit is 42,914. At 9.545%, nowhere near good enough for me. Estimated time of build, we're going to say 15 months. 15 months. Actually, you're going to say, yeah, we're going to say 15 months. I'm going to say about 18 with selling. Because you've got to take into account the hold fees and that type of stuff. Make sense? Return on development, 7.34. Return on equity, who's winning? Who's winning here? You're not. If I can make this a bit bigger, let's just make that bigger. Can't see where to make it bigger. That's an issue. Where is it? Oh, there we go. So, view here, make it bigger. So see why the banks make money and why there are so many people out there willing to lend money and not actually do the bricks and mortar, because the return on the development costs is only 7%. Why would you do that? We just put your money in an equity fund somewhere, sit back and let it make its money and not go through all this crap. And then here, the person lending the money is making the 23%, which is the person sitting back doing nothing. Make sense? And then, wow, there's a drop in the market. Shit, we can only sell it for 465. Now look what happens. Everyone's losing money. Everyone's losing money. You've lost £304. Not too bad, actually. But I can tell you now that realistically, you're probably going to sell something like that property in there for £395,000 based on that purchase cost. It is not a deal. You are 70 grand down. And the problem is that people, when they price up these deals, they forget most of this. In fact, they don't include any of that. They don't include the contingency. Their build costs are too low, etc., etc., etc. They don't accommodate for sell costs, these fees here. They don't accommodate for the right solicitor's fees. And they definitely don't account for the cost of money. In this case, it's 23 grand, and on the bill, it's 13 grand. Just your cost of money is 26 grand. The cost of money. Now you understand the value of money. Now, if you were to JV with this one, in other words, you would have what we call a assisted sale. And what that means is, let's say you have a house but you have no money. You might have inherited that property, but you don't have the 20, 30K or 40K it's going to cost to fix that property. So I come along and I find you somewhere, I put a letter through your door, whatever it might be, or an agent has found you for me. Probate, a solicitor you may know has given you a list of probate properties, one for me next door approached. And you may say, look, I've seen your property. It looks like it needs some work. And I've noticed it's been sitting there for some time now. I'm just wondering, what is the situation currently with that property? Are you looking to sell, or are you looking to possibly renovate the property and sell it? Because either way, I can help. Oh, yeah, well, we do want to sell it. This is not how it will go. It will take longer than this. We do want to sell it. We do want to refurb it, but we don't have the money. And it's taken you maybe half an hour to get this information, right? Okay. I can help you out. I can invest, some money in your property, and I can use my team of builders. Some of them you may know around here. They've got a very great reputation. Mark Edwards and his crew. Yeah, I know them. They've actually done work for my parents in the past, whatever it might be. They've been around for years, right? Cool. And then they may say, so how does this work? Okay, I'm glad you asked. Let me point it out. And you wouldn't run through the sheet, but you'd say, look, your property is currently valued at probably 275 grand. They go, yeah, that's about right. It's kind of what we've been offered, but we want more, we want it to start with a 3. Okay, so you want a minimum of £300,000 for your property, right? Yeah, that's right. So your stamp duty will be how much? 0, because you're not buying the property. Now, this is how I like to do business. I don't like to pay tax. I don't like to build things. All right, so we'll do this. Your solicitor, you're still going to need a solicitor to take care of the contract that you put together yourselves. But in this case, let's say it costs you 1,200 quid. I know for those, my solicitor, I can do that. There is no agent. It's just you. And now you look at your costs. They're very different, aren't they? So far, so good. There's no demolition. The build, yeah, we're going to do that. Add that. Yeah, we're still going to do that. Add that. We want to add a room. Contingency, we'll still keep that in there. There's no planning. Accountancy, we'll keep that there. Insurance, we'll keep that there. Council tax, because it may be an empty property, there is no council tax, or it's going to be at least very reduced. Building guarantee, you keep that. Building rates, keep that. Structural survey, yeah. Utilities, keep that. Project may keep that. Bank survey, yeah. Because you're probably going to use banks' money still. Architect, yeah, keep that. So they've reduced a bit. Interest there, yeah. Borrowing on build, yeah. You're going to have your money, you're going to do that. Cash on build, so on and so forth. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Agent fees, you're going to be looking at, and we're going to sell this for 395. This is going to be, we're going to sell it for more than that. So total costs. So it's a probate. So we're going to sell this for, I don't know, 440. Still not going to make any money. So what we'll do is we'll base this on, what we'll do is we'll keep it the same. Okay, Costa. So let me just hear. Okay, so purchase, right. So there's no purchase. This is what we're doing wrong. So there's no purchase. You're not purchasing the property. Make sense? Because all we're doing is, all we're paying for is the borrowing on the build and the build cost. Make sense? Now already, even at 440, you can see we've gone into, from losing tens of thousands to £23,000 profit. Now you'd still want to sell this for probably 465, all right? And you're making your 50 grand. Make sense? And depending on the area and that type of thing, it might work. However, if not, if the kitchen is too much, so we're not going to put in the kitchen, we're just going to refurb it. You'll see your costs, because there's no extra cost on that. We've gone to 81, which means that we can sell now for 435 and still make our 50 grand profit. Make sense? However, they want, if you remember, that to start with a 3. So we're going to base it on 300,000. Then we say to ourselves, that leaves us at 25. I'd want to sell this for 450. And that will give me 40 grand. And I'd be happy with 40 grand because it's cost me nothing in costs for purchase or stamp duty. And I haven't got to do anything for it. I've given it to Mark Edwards, my builder, who do a quick slap up refurb. And in fact, the refurb on a property like this is probably going to be nearer to probably 40K. So then I've got wiggle room here, 59. I can go down to 435 if I want to, and I'll still cover my 40 plus grand. Make sense? And that's giving them an extra 25 grand for their property, which is an incentive. And sometimes what they want to do in the end is, oh, you know, really like what you're doing. we actually would like to move in. Hey, we'd like to move in and we want to get rid of our other property. And I've had this before. Can you buy our old property? And we want to move in and buy this one. Sure, but listen, I've got, you know, certain time frames in this and I need to get the money. So you can buy it. However, you're going to have to buy it at this price, or I buy your house at this price. And it's the way things work sometimes, because they love what you've done. They're like, wow, this is amazing. Especially if it's 50 plus couples, you know, maybe they've lost a mother, father or something, and it's their house that they're taking over. There's so many, millions and millions of scenarios. And you only hear about these scenarios when you're out there doing this. Yes? For me, there really is no longer a quick flip that you can do really out there that's cheap because of the cost of things. You know, you used to be able to get a bungalow and make 30 grand and you could do it in 7 months, 8 months. Because you're just refurbing it, you might add a kitchen or something like that. So, you know, for me personally, and some people out there will say, oh, but you can get them. Yeah, you can do quick flips, but you're going to have to go way up north where you're buying properties for 55, 65, 70 grand. But then I would question why you're doing flips up there, because up there, the market is for income, not capital growth. Why wouldn't you just do it further down south or an area where there is capital growth, which is why I now stick to my area here, because I have both the yield and I have the capital growth and the speed of the capital growth. So yes, there is a shitload to learn, and you have to learn all the time. You know, Danny, I know you've learned that from your project, you know, but there is so much to learn, and you will learn something new on every single project. And sometimes the cost of learning can be your contingency of 10 grand, or this case, 4-8. Sometimes your cost of learning can cost you thousands of pounds, but you don't want it to come out of your pocket. You've already allowed for it. And the more you do, the better you get. You know, I teach this to a handful of people, and I won't teach it to everyone because it's a bit like stock trading. You've got to have a certain mindset and a certain mentality. You've got to be 100% cutthroat when it comes to putting in the right prices in here. You've got to be 100% cutthroat when it comes to your builder says, no, I can do it. I can do this cheap. No, mate. These are the materials that you buy and get it all in your contract. These are the materials that you put in place. If things go up, you can't help it. Your builder can't help it. Contingency pays for that. If things come down, yay, but you know, how often is that going to happen? So I'm not trying to turn you away from doing development, but don't get sucked into the commercial resi world. You know, oh, we're going to build 5, 6, 10 houses, 11 apartments, 15 apartments. Wow. I can tell you now, seasoned developers shit themselves every time they take on a development like that, worrying that they haven't covered everything. Yes, they've put everything in. Have I got enough contingency? Should I put 20 contingency? On any development you do, you will lose sleep hand over fist. What you do now, rent to rent, service accommodation, is a piece of piss. I can tell you that in comparison to this. Now, I like this type of deal because I don't have to buy it. So I don't have to wait and go through all this. I phone up Mark and I say, Mark, meet me this property. Bah, 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 bah. Right. I want to do this, this, and this. This one will be a stage 2 or stage 1. I want a stage 1. Blah, 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 blah. Right. Okay. So you want these taps, this kitchen from Howden's, whatever. Stage 2. Yeah. You want this and you want this kitchen from Howden's. Stage 3. You want this and this, and you want this kitchen from Wren. Correct, mate. Right. Let me get priced up. And we'll know that on stage 1, ordinarily, even putting in heating, painting, carpets, floor coverings, new kitchen, Howden stage 1, the type of appliances that we put in, which is basically the cheapest, the taps, the showers, the tiling that you put in, everything that we put in, we know that it will be circa 22 to 26 grand from what we've done on stage 1s. But I will always allow for 30. That's with no extension. That's just gutting, refurbing. If it has to have windows, you have to add another 10 grand, as in full double glazing. Most stuff we do has it anyway. There may be some blown windows, 150, 200 quid. If it's a blown door, it could be 400, 500 quid, maybe more. So, you know, your stage 2s are going to be anywhere between 35 and 50 grand. Your stage 3s are going to be anywhere from 50 grand up. Normally about 70, 75 grand. That's refurb. That's not adding space. That's not going up, going out, going sideways, coming forward or whatever, or going down in some cases. That I would definitely not do. That's always risky. I don't care who you are. There's one up the road, a guy I know, and he's been a builder for 20 years. Went down and did a cellar, flooded on the first thing, and he's had a tank, the whole lot, flooded. So, yes, there is money to be made. Would I do refurbs where I'm buying properties for 250, 275? Yes. However, it would be more, I'm refurbing my own property to attract higher rental. And it's something that I have, like it's a 10-year thing that I do. So to keep them up to date. For me, to get your 50 grand, you're going to need to be buying houses in excess of 350 or joint venturing on properties where they're 350, so you can get and achieve that 475, 500 top end of the market type of thing. Because it may be that you want to find a property that it's the only one that hasn't been extended in the street. Are they hard to find? Yeah, they're like gold dust, but when you find a bang, you know you got money. You can go up higher now, you know, with all the change in permitted development some 2 years ago now. You can go out higher. You can actually build double story extensions with permitted development. So there's so much more that you can add when you're adding value now to bring the price up. I wouldn't want to be setting new price caps within that area. I'd want to be just below or around about where the best houses are to sell. Make sense? So there is a lot to take into account, and you need to learn a lot. There is a lot to learn, and you need someone, and I'm not selling me, can be anyone, that has experience and has the same mentality about me being scared shitless of every development. No matter what you do, you're going to stress about it, because you'll get a phone call from your builder 2 months in. All right, Ash, Mark here. How are you, mate? Good. Yeah. Can you come down to site? Just need to show you something. Shit. Okay, mate. I'll be there soon. And you need to be doing something in your area. You don't want to be traveling miles here, miles there. You know, you don't want to be doing that. Traveling 1, 2, 3 hours there and back, because it's just not good. And when you've got it, every 2 days, nice and close by, just go to your site. All right, boys, how's it going? Yeah, good. Take them a coffee. I'll do that with my builders. Phone up, Mark. How many boys you got on site today? Mark got 4. Right, who's on? Jim's on. You know, Simon's on. Rambo's on. Right, and I know from my phone their notes what coffees they have. Right, I've got to drop them in a coffee. I'll see you about 10 o'clock. And then you have a chat to the boys. You're socializing. You're not there to say, what are you doing? What's going on? And then they'll say, you know, well, Ash, you got the wall started. Have you seen those footings? I don't know if those footings are big enough. Well, you didn't, dickhead, make them bigger. That sort of thing, you know. You become mates with them. You know, most of them are on my Facebook and my mates, you know, because you want to be able to have those conversations. You don't want a builder who's going to pull the wool over your eyes. You don't want to work or JV with a builder who's going to pull the wool over your eyes. You know, there's nothing worse. And you want a builder who pays themselves from the project. Your accountant pays them. You don't pay them on a monthly wage or anything like that, because that to them is like fucking diamond soup. Because they don't care. I'm getting paid. Yeah. Yeah. And imagine you're giving them 3 or 4 projects and you're getting paid from each one. The builder's like, yeah, I'm driving a brand new car and you're broke, mate. So it's about how you set up these agreements and contracts as well. All right. If you're going to JV with a partner, like a builder, especially, which is what I do, you arrange everything. The builder does all the work. The builder will make their profit from the work that they do. In other words, you pay them. It may be that you pay them in chunks, right? Ash, we've ripped it out. Now we need to buy supplies. Can you buy supplies? Sometimes I'll buy the supplies. They'll send me a list, but they'll go down to Travis Perkins and I'll buy it. And then they give me the receipt. They don't make any money from that. Give me a receipt, I'll pay it. Or you get an account, they put it on your account. And then you pay it. And then they give you a set contractual price. You don't want a rate per day, price for the entire project. Now that may cost, they may build in themselves. If it's going to cost 75 grand on the build, they may build in 10% contingency for themselves. So it may be costing you a little bit more. However, if it does go over more and there is contingency, it's taken care of. Because you don't want them at a daily rate and they say, you know, boys have all got COVID, they can't get in. All right, that's a week lost. 2 weeks lost, 3 weeks, can't get supplies, that sort of thing. No problem. Take your boys off site for 2 weeks. Once we get the supplies, bring them back in. Yeah, done, no problem. And you've got to be open. You've got to be accessible for your builders. Don't hide, don't have fights with them. All right, Mark, so how are we going to work this one out? All right, I'll tell you what, I'm going to do this. All right, yeah, no problem. That's the way we do it. Always compromise. If it costs you a few quid to compromise, that's good, because it could cost you thousands, tens of thousands for them to say, get stuff, we're off site. You can shove it, which is why I always have to get contracts in place. Yeah. And in some cases, if you don't trust your builder, you want a personal guarantee on it as well, because builders are very well known for going, beep, we're out of business. See you later. Make sure it's a reputable business. It's been working in the area 10, 15 years. You know people that know them, and they know people that know them, that know them, that know them. Doing stuff in your area is paramount. And I've learned this over the years, that you can't be messing about with builders in areas that you have the respect of no one, because no one knows you. They know the builder. Oh, yeah, Chappie's got another one here. And you might go there every 2 or 3 weeks. And, there's no rapport. Make sense? Good. So, any questions? I'm not trying to put anyone off doing developments. I'm trying to make you see that it's not easy. Is it worth it? Mate, some of them really are worth it. life-changing money. Life-changing money. If someone gave you 50 grand today, what would you think? Wow, what can I do with 50 grand? You hear them on, you know, heart radio, 122 grand and 150 grand. Wow, life-changing. For some people, it's life-changing money. As long as they go down and spunk it on bloody whatever it is they want to bloody waste their money on. But that 50 grand can then fund another project that you don't actually have to borrow money for, as in a joint venture project. And then we have what we call title splits, where you do nothing. Title splits are even better. You find a house that has land either at the back or the side that you can build on or get planning for. You pay for the planning, you do nothing else. In fact, my mate, Mike Ruthin, the builder I was talking about, he's talking about this 800 grand property. He bought a block of land. He got an option, on a block of land that's valued at 250. 2 years ago, it's just been valued at 400. After he got his planning, it cost him 38 grand in planning. I said, what are you going to do, Mike? He said, mate, I don't want to work. I'm going to sell it to another builder, but I'll get 450 for it. How much money is that? And that stuff we love. This is what I mean why I don't like getting my hands dirty. I'm a bit lazy when it comes to building stuff. I'm long past like having to, take a photo of myself in a fucking hard hat on a site. Ooh, look what I built. I don't care. I know what's in my bank, and that's all I care about. I don't have an ego like Emirates Stadium or, Halifax Stadium. I don't have to have a name on shit. I don't care. It's not me. Take care of number one. I take care of my family and friends, etc. That's it. So whatever you do, when it comes to development, throw your ego out the door. You don't have to put stuff on Facebook. Look what we're doing. Just do your shit. Make your money. And then from your success, they'll see what you're doing anyway from your actions. That's it. Oh, you coming over for a beer tonight? Can't, mate. We've got two developments on the go. One started 2 months ago. One's about to go. One's about to kick off. Oh, shit. So you really are doing this? Yeah. Well, you've been quiet. Well, I haven't been quiet. I've been busy. So with the joint ventures, there's less people you need to borrow money from. And in fact, if you JV with a decent builder, it's even less money because you take the profits out at the end for both of you. You need a builder that's doing other work as well, because you don't want a builder who's just relying on that one job. You want them to be having 3, 4, 5, 6 jobs on the go. They won't all be refurbs. It'll be like a small build. It'll be like brick paving they got to do and that type of stuff, because that keeps their cash flow ticking over. And then these type of deals every 3, 4, 5, 6 months, that's like a big whack for them to go, yeah, brilliant, nice. That's my holidays taken care of, and whatever it might be, new car. And just do 2 a year. It's enough. Unless you want to drive Ferraris and Lamborghinis and that type of stuff, that's where your business and that type of businesses come from. Stuff that's making you money while you sleep. So you've got to have a nice mix. All right, I've been jabbing on now for too long. Have a good day, guys. And for those watching the recording, if you've got any questions, just put them out to the group, and we'll go from there. All right, have a good one. Enjoy.